Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Imani here, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing. It's going to be a very special unboxing. It's going to be an unboxing of books by Black authors who I feel like you should know if you don't already know them. I feel like we're all familiar with the recent spotlight that the Black Lives Matter movement has been getting in the past couple of months. Now, by no means is the Black Lives Matter movement a new movement. It's one that's been around for many years at this point. The social injustice and things of that nature have always been there and have just continuously grown more and more out of hand as the time has gone by. But I do feel like the silver lining from the nationwide attention that the Black Lives Matter movement has been garnering is that people are wanting to become more knowledgeable and more informed on the different social injustices that Black people face. And also they are wanting to support Black creatives, Black authors, Black entrepreneurs, and things like that. And I think that's amazing. I feel like the realm of Black creators is so vast and they have such great products and things like that. I feel like I wanted to do my part any way that's possible. Fun fact about me is I love to read. It's my biggest hobby. I work with books. I've been very passionate about since I was a really small child. So I wanted to do my part by sharing these books that I feel like are really good starter points if you want to dive into the realm of works by Black authors and things like that. This is also going to be my first time reading these books myself. I mean, I do have quite a few other books that I have read by Black authors, but these ones are very popular in that genre. Well, I don't know if you'd call it a genre because being a Black author is not a genre, so I don't want to create that stigma. But I'm just going to go ahead and say that this selection of books by Black authors are pretty popular, and a couple of my friends have read them and coworkers and people rave about them. So I feel like if you want to hop into it and support phenomenal Black authors, these are some great books that you can start with. But we're going to go ahead and hop right into the unboxing because I'm being long-winded and that's not my jam. But here is my big fat old box with all my books in it. I already cracked it open, but I just have to go ahead and take off the bubble wrap. I ordered my books from penguinrandomhouse.com. They have a great selection of books and it's just the easiest. They have super fast shipping too. Another little sidebar caveat is I normally buy all my books and read them off the Kindle app, so I have everything on my iPhone. I want to get more into physical books. I mean, I feel like when you're just solely reading off of an e-reader, it kind of sucks because you don't actually get to physically see your library. And although you technically own them, it's just not the same as having them like the physical books. So I'm gonna make that move this year to start buying more physical books so that way I can begin to build a bookshelf. But we're gonna go ahead and hop into the unboxing. I'm gonna take all the bubble wrap off, and there's a ton of bubble wrap. Okay, a ton. Oh my god. Okay, that's the last piece. But let's see what the first book I'm gonna grab out is. Oh, okay, great. So it's More Than Enough by ELAINE WELTEROTH. Amazing woman. I follow her on Instagram and she's so inspirational. I believe she was the first editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue, which is major for a Black woman in the media space. And she's just amazing. Like, she's very inspirational and I feel like she's literal goals. But she's one of those type of people who just seems so down to earth and she doesn't sugarcoat things. She doesn't make it seem like she just magically got to this place in life. Like, she attributes it a lot to her past, her family, her upbringing, and things like that. She just seems very real, and I admire that about her so much. And I think it's amazing, like, the role model she is to other Black girls and people of color and things like that. Like, I feel like representation is so important, especially in the space of, you know, celebrities or influencers or book authors or entrepreneurs, because if you see people who look like you doing things that you might want to do in your future, you feel like that you can do it because you've already seen it done. I feel like a lot of the times, maybe if you don't see yourself represented in something that you might want to do, you might feel like that you can't achieve that because it hasn't been done before. So to see more people who look like you doing things you just can only dream of doing is amazing. So, inspirational lady, she's a shit. But I'm going to go ahead and hop into reading the little synopsis for you. So it says, throughout her life, ELAINE WELTEROTH has climbed the ranks of media and fashion, shattering ceilings along the way. Now the groundbreaking journalist unpacks lessons on race, identity, and success through her own journey, from navigating her way as the unstoppable child of an interracial marriage in a small town of California to finding herself on the front lines of a movement for the next generation of change makers. Brimming with vulnerability, humor, and hard-earned wisdom, More Than Enough is fittingly much more than a memoir. It is a moving affirmation for anyone who's ever forced fear and persevered anyway. Like, doesn't that just not want you to just dive into it? Like, I'm super into autobiographies. I don't read a lot of nonfiction. I don't really like it that much, but I'm always fascinated by autobiographies to see people's story. The last autobiography I read was Becoming by Queen Forever Lady Michelle Obama, and that was just amazing. So for people who just live these amazing lives and accomplish so much, I just think it's fascinating to know the story behind how they got there. it's easy to look at someone and just think that, oh, you know, they clicked their heels 3 times and they got what they wanted to do. They clicked their heels this time and got this job, and that's just not the case. Everyone has a journey and everyone has a story, and I'm super excited to learn more about ELAINE WELTEROTH's story because, like I said, sis is goals. So that's the first book I ordered. And also, can we get into this patent leather orange rain jacket? Sis, she did that. All right, so next book is going to be, this is going to be Well Read Black Girl by Glory EDIM. This book has been one that's been on my list for so long. It's an anthology series composed of essays by, I believe it's Black women writers. And I just think that's amazing. I think this also speaks to what I was mentioning a little while ago about representation and being able to see people who look like you doing these amazing things. And I just think this is great because, like, that's just awesome. It's literally a composition of works written by Black women who have persevered in the space of literature and writing and have made a name for themselves. And I just think that's amazing. And I think something like this is great because although every essay might not resonate with you, there's going to be something in here that clicks with you. There's going to be something in here that you can take something great away from. And even if it doesn't, it's not that out of body, oh my God, this is amazing, like give me life. I feel like there's still a lot to learn from, you know, different types of different women and different women of color. And again, because everyone has their own story and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis of this one. So it says, remember that moment when you first encountered a character who seemed to be written just for you? Unfortunately, not everyone regularly sees themselves in the pages of a book. In this timely anthology, Glory EDIM brings together original essays by some of our best Black women writers to shine a light on how important it is that we all, regardless of gender, race, religion, or ability, have the opportunity to find ourselves in literature. Like, oh my God, the feels. I would definitely say that as a kid growing up, like reading books, you don't really see that many books that have a Black heroine or a Black hero or even a Black main character. Like normally you'll see them be like the Black best friend or things like that, or some type of minor secondary character. But honestly, the only book that comes to mind with a Black heroine is The Children of Blood and Bone. That's a 2-book series. I think that's by Tomi Adeyemi. That book was amazing, but I think I read that book when I was like 25, and as someone who's been reading them since single digits, for that to be the first book that I can recall at the top of my head that has a Black heroine, that's a Black story about Black people, that's insane. Like, I'm 27 now. Like, there needs to be more representation in like the literature space, so for people who look like me, who can see people who looks like them. Like, I just feel like that's exactly what this is driving forth home, and I feel like it's amazing and it's inspirational and it might inspire the next generation of writers. So I'm super excited to read this book. So we're gonna hop right over into the next one. And this is, so this is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. So this is his autobiography about growing up in South Africa during the apartheid. And everyone knows who Trevor Noah is. He's the host of The Daily Show on Comedy Central, and he's like has a big, larger than life personality. And he's another person who seems to have led this amazing life. And I just think it's fascinating to learn more about his story and his roots of growing up in South Africa during the apartheid. So I'm going to go ahead and read this synopsis for you. This is the compelling, inspiring, and comically sublime story of one man's coming of age set during the twilight of apartheid and the tumultuous days of freedom that followed. So if I remember correctly, I believe that Trevor Noah was born in South Africa during the apartheid, and I believe when he was born, it was illegal for Black and white people to like have kids and be married, so he was raised in secret. I think his grandma maybe raised him. Now, mind you, I really don't know too much about it because there's no like actual synopsis in the book, but I do recall seeing an interview and it's something about that. But I feel like a lot of people are familiar with the South African apartheid and like the insane dynamic that has. So I'm very fascinated to learn more about his story and his upbringing and just like the intricacies of his family and how, you know, he ended up working in comedy and to go into like hosting an insanely popular show like The Daily Show. I feel like this book also speaks to representation and just seeing people of color, Black and brown people who come from all walks of life. So although Trevor Noah is not American, he's South African, but he still might have a story that might resonate with somebody. And I just think that's amazing. And I'm super excited to read this. So we're going to move on to the next book. So the next book is one that has been insanely popular. It just recently came out and it's like on every type of chart. Everyone's talking about it, but it is The Vanishing Half by BRIT, BENNETT. And I've heard so much great story about this. This is a type of book that kind of reminds me of a Toni Morrison essay with its take on like colorism and different social conformities that arise in America with being like a mixed race child and being able to be white passing and things like that. So there's definitely some different type of intricacies in this book that I'm very excited to read about, but I'm going to read the synopsis to this book because it does have one. So it says, twins inseparable as children ultimately choose to live in two very different worlds, one black and one white. The Vignes sisters will always be identical, but after growing up together in a small southern black community and running away at age 16, it's not just the shape of their daily lives that is different as adults, it's everything, including their racial identities. Many years later, one sister lives with her black daughter in the same southern town she once tried to escape. Across the country, the other secretly passes for white, and her white husband knows nothing of her past. Still, although separated by so many miles and just as many lies, the fates of the twins remain intertwined. What will happen when their own daughters' storylines intersect? Weaving together multiple strands and generations from the Deep South to California, from the 1950s to the 1990s, The Vanishing Half is at once a riveting emotional family story and a brilliant exploration of race, gender, and identity, and the lasting influence of the past as it shapes a person's desires and expectations. This sounds so good. I think this book is fascinating because it's something that I've never considered. I mean, I myself can't pass as white, but for people who do have that ability and choose to do so, I just think it's fascinating. And I'm very excited to read. Like I said earlier, it's got nothing but praise. And I think it's so exciting to see a woman of color getting so much attention off of their book, because when I tell you this book has been everywhere, if you follow like literature news and book news, you can't go anywhere without hearing about this, The Vanishing Half by BRIT BENNETT. So I'm super excited to read this, and also the cover is so beautiful. Like, it's just very like aesthetically pleasing. It's very vibey. Okay, and lastly is going to be this book called Dear Martin by Nick Stone. This book is another big name book in this whole social justice space by a lead black character. This book is kind of similar to The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, I believe is her name. And this one is amazing. It also doesn't have a synopsis in it. It does have a synopsis. So I'm going to go ahead and read that for you. So it goes, free at last, ? Dream on. Justice McAllister is top of his class and set for a bright future, but none of that matters to the police officer who just put him in handcuffs. And despite leaving his rough neighborhood behind, he can't escape the scorn of his former peers or the ridicule of his new classmates. Justice looks to the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for answers. But do they hold up anymore? He starts a journal to Dr. King to find out. Then comes the day Justice goes driving with his best friend Manny, windows rolled down, music turned up, way up, sparking the fury of a white off-duty copy beside them. Words fly, shots are fired. Justice and Manny are caught in the crosshairs. In the media fallout, it's Justice who is under attack. Riveting and revealing, New York Times bestselling author Nick Stone boldly tackles American race relations in this stunning debut. This book, I have heard so much about this for years and just have never read it, and that's shame on me. It's been so hard to even get this book. It's been back ordered since about maybe early June. Like, it's insane. I just think it's so fabulous for Nick Stone. She also has a couple of other books, but she's very, very rooted in like knowing what's going on and being able to communicate it. I read a couple of pages of this so far and just like, wow. Like, I've never read The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, but I feel like this is a similar type of dynamic or setting. But I feel like this book, if there's any book that you want to read and learn what it might be like, what black teenagers, black women, black men experience at the hands of the criminal justice system, this is it. It'll give you firsthand account on what it's like to be targeted, not represented, not cared about, ignored, and attacked. And like, just to read this book, I mean, I really can't say anything else. I just feel like if there's a book you want to start with to wrap your head around the injustices that black people face in this country, Dear Martin by Nick Stone is it. And she also has a sequel coming out called Dear Justice. I believe it comes out in September of this year. So once I finish this, I will definitely gonna go ahead and get that. I have it on pre-order already, so I'm super excited about that. And yeah, I mean, I just want to, do my part as best as I can. And, although it might not be anything massive, I mean, reading books, it transports you into a different world. It exposes you to things that you may never experience or witness in your life. But just by reading on it, you get a different type of understanding for it, a different type of sympathy for it. So I'm just going to go ahead and log off and say bye. Do yourself a favor and pick up any of these books by these amazing authors. There literally is a flavor for anything that you want to read. All you have to do is hop on My Good Sis Amazon or Penguin Random House or Barnes & Noble, wherever. I say all that to say, grab you a book, support a black author, and become informed, become an ally. do your part, have some fun while doing it, and yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.